All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Tuesday, November 12th. We got 8 games on today's NBA slate to dive into. It is the first seeing and first viewing of this season of the in-season tournament, so let's keep that in mind. But 8 games to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that I like within the game as well. But all of my final plays, so what I'm actually rolling with myself, will be listed on the Guy Boston Sports site, which I'll direct you to in the pinned comments, so make sure to keep an eye out for that. In terms of last night, not the worst night, not the best night, 2-3 night, and I could sit here and be like, well, Evan Mobley was only 1 basket away from cashing. Vucevic only 1 3 away from cashing. The Kings, yeah, they don't respect my money because they stink, but the Kings lost, but, Vucevic and Mobley were right there. But the way that we won the Cam Johnson play and the Pelicans and Nets over is, how it works out on the flip side. Both of those we won by just on the hook. So I can't really complain about the ones we lose on the hook because you win just as many on the hook over time in this industry. So a 2-3 night. Yes, I'm bummed that Mobley needed 1 more basket. Yes, I'm bummed that Vooch needed 1 more 3 for plus 160 cash. But at the same time, the ones that we did hit just barely as well. So we got to be realistic about it. Our ride of the day. Henry is just coming in, firing here. He cashes Ivica. I can never say that name. Ivica Zubac, over 28.5 points plus rebounds. He goes out there and crushes it. I think he had like 22 and 14. A nice little ride of the day cash for Henry. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it is simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day in the comments. Give me your favorite play in the comments. Every day I jump on board with one person's play, and you get a shout out in the next video, win or loss. If you win, we let you go on a little streak here as long as you can take it, like Henry has for, 3 wins in a row now. So go ahead and get those hashtag ride of the days in there. Henry's on the streak right now, but still, I'm keeping an eye out for who's getting warm. And one other thing about the ride of the day is that, you guys dropping your plays in the comments is helping out a bunch of other people that see those plays. So even though we're riding with Henry right now, get those hashtag ride of the days in the comments because you never know when your number is going to get called, right? Let's go ahead and jump into this slate, guys. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Really do appreciate where we are as a second channel right now. So much. I think this marks a week in. Tomorrow will be technically when we started posting, but I created the channel a week ago, and the fact that we're where we're at right now in terms of channel numbers and whatnot, it blows my mind. So thank you guys so much for the support in what I would consider still kind of a down time based on what's going on with the main channel, but overall, appreciate the heck out of you guys for all the support. Let's go ahead and dive into game number 1 here. I will say this, I want to talk about the in-season tournament and the vibe. Last year, I was kind of out on the fact that, players going to care more and whatnot. We did ultimately end up seeing some more intensity during these games. I don't know if it'll happen tonight, game number 1, and then obviously they are sparsing it out throughout the season. So I will say that as it gets closer and closer to the end of the tournament, or those games later on in the year for the tournament start to have more impact on quarterfinals and that type of thing, then I think the intensity picks up. Right now, I struggle to think, what's the difference, but maybe I'm the dummy in the room. But let's jump into it here. We got Boston taking on Atlanta. Tons of injuries to note in this one. On the Celtics side of things, looks like we do get Jaylen Brown back as a Celtics, but Jason Tatum's now a game-time decision, and Al Horford's also a game-time decision. Still no Porzingis. And on Atlanta's side, boy, they have a ton of injuries here. Most notably, Trae Young is listed as out. The last time these two teams played, Celtics won 123-93 in Atlanta, absolute blowout fashion. That was a couple weeks ago. Trae Young had 5 points, so him being out, he pretty much was out last game too. In this spot though, 15 is a huge number for the Celtics to lay. I don't think that I touched that, but I'm having trouble even getting to Atlanta. You have the Celtics, who are obviously the best 3-point offense in terms of even frequency and just points from 3. Those kind of correlate though, right? Going up against the team that's allowing the most points from 3 this entire season, and they're allowing from above the break threes 38.2% in terms of field goal percentage. Right corner 3, 51.1. Left corner 3, 42%. This is an Atlanta team that struggles to cover that perimeter. So I do think that the Celtics are probably the move here, but 15 is just way too much for me to get there. In terms of the total, I'd probably take a peek somehow at the Celtics team total before I do touch the main total there at 227.5. I don't know exactly how Atlanta is going to score here. Atlanta likes to score from in the paint. Boston isn't all that tremendous at stopping the paint, but again, you can't really compete with the Celtics if you are, counting by twos and they're counting by threes. So I think Atlanta will fall behind at some point here, and their point total won't be all that high. So I guess I would, by default, lean towards the over, but I'm much more bought into the team total over for the Celtics today, and that's even with Jason Tatum out, potentially Horford. Like, I get that, but overall, it's not like Horford or Tatum were going to be the ones that were stopping Atlanta or changing the flow of this game. Like, Tatum is offensively amazing. I don't think that his defensive spot in this game was going to change how the Hawks do or don't score. So anyways, team total over for the Celtics is probably where I'd go anyways to eliminate all variables, but I don't mind the over overall, I guess. All right, next up, Detroit hosting Miami. Kind of an interesting one here due to the injuries. Jimmy Butler not out. So already we're talking about the in-season tournament, right? The NBA Cup, and stars are out. Trae Young, Jason Tatum might be out, Jimmy Butler. It's like, what's going on here? But Jimmy Butler, I think, missed either 2 games or 1 game before this, right? And on the other side, for Detroit, Jalen Duren listed as a game-time decision. So 2 of the biggest players, I guess you could say, in this game are listed as either out or questionable in the spot. I do still think Miami has plenty of talent with Bam, Hero, and Rozier to be able to beat this Detroit team by more than 1.5 points. Now, has Miami been all that great? No, but they've, they got the win against who they just played, a decent team, right? Minnesota. They beat Minnesota, and they were 7.5 point dogs. They won that game outright. I don't mind them to kind of do something similar to Detroit, where they really just play such good defense that they only need to score, 95 or whatever points to go out there and win. So I like Miami in this spot, especially because that is a low number at 1.5. No Jimmy Butler, I know, but I think that Hero, Rozier, and Bam can kind of step it up. In terms of a total, well, I kind of just hinted at my hand there. I don't mind Detroit's team total under. Right now, it's going to be super low, and I totally understand that, but still, this Miami team at times looks really good defensively, and then at times looks really bad defensively, but I think the Pistons are an offense that you can probably end up looking a little bit better defensively than normal here, because this Pistons defense actually, to start the year, isn't that terrible, which is crazy to say out loud, right? But their offense, I would not sit there and brag about or anything like that. So I like both Miami as well as Detroit's team total under. When it comes to player props here, I'd be looking at someone like Terry Rozier again in terms of his threes. In fact, we can jump into it because I don't have the updated odds earlier when we looked. I like this spot, but we jump into the outlier screen here and go to his 3-pointers made. Let's see, 2.5 for plus 160. I don't, as crazy as it is, I don't mind it. He had 5 last time he played Detroit. That was this season. He's going to shoot the most corner threes on this Heat team. That's where Detroit struggles defensively guarding the 3. So Terry Rozier for plus 160 to hit 3 threes with no Jimmy Butler out. Yeah, I really don't mind this spot. Last year without Jimmy Butler in games, he hit this 12 times. Now out of I think it was 24 games played without Jimmy, something like that. But overall, for plus 160, yeah, we're taking a little bit of a flyer on that one. But what is not a flyer is Luka Doncic. 0.5 points, his normal point line at 29.5. That is only over on Sleeper exclusively today, guys. And what's great is they're also going to give you up to a $1,500 deposit match when signing up today. That link will be down below in the description. I'll also put in the pinned comment, and you can find it on the Guy Boston Sports site with the final plays as well. Luka 0.5 points, that's already going to be something you can throw into your slip and boost the payout, right? And the fact that if you sign up today, you get up to $1,500 in a deposit match, that is the largest they have ever done. Go check out Sleeper, guys. If you like player props, if you like picking more or less based on the projections they throw out there, Sleeper is a spot for you. And what I like about Sleeper that they do differently than a lot of other apps is the dynamic payout changes based on the plays you throw into your slips. They do not just follow a fixed payout structure, 2 for 2 is 3x, that type of thing. No, Sleeper's really, really cool in the sense that each and every slip has its own dynamic payout. They also offer alternate lines and just really cool stuff. Flex plays, so go ahead and check it out, guys. That link will be in the pinned comment. Again, Luka free square, and that deposit match deal is absolutely crazy. All right, Orlando's taking on Charlotte here, laying 7 points. This is an interesting one, and I feel like I say that about a lot of games, but there are some little nuggets here that I'm like, what is going on? So no Banchero, no Carter. We've seen that for a little bit with Orlando, right? But and you'd be like, oh my God, there's their 4 and their 5 both out. But you flip to the Charlotte side of things, and Saulown and Taj Gibson are their starting power forward and center today because Mark Williams still out, Nick Richards out, Miles Bridges out. Like, they're dealing with so many injuries as well. And honestly, I didn't expect it to be the case, but we've seen decent enough defense, even with the injuries from Orlando, right? Like, this year, they're allowing the second fewest points per game, the third best team in terms of defensive efficiency. And if we look at their recent games, 94, 88, these are points against, 118 to Indiana. Okay, they played fast, and that was one of Indiana's good-looking games. OKC, 102. Dallas, 108. Like, this is a team that is still playing good defense. Now, their two most recent games, 88 and 94, like I mentioned, New Orleans and Washington. So I don't want to give them too much credit for that. But if we start looking into OKC and Dallas, keeping them below 110, I guess I'm buying this Orlando defense still. So I'm going to lean towards an under in this spot. And also Orlando minus the points now. Do I think 7 is a fair number? Not really. With the injuries and no Ben Caro, I still don't feel comfortable totally laying that number. But I, based on the defense, I can't get to Charlotte. So, yeah, give me Orlando in this spot. But I think I like the under more than anything. And kind of in that same vein, I guess, we've done it a couple times already today in terms of leans. But I don't necessarily mind an under for a point total here, like under 105.5 for Charlotte's team total. If this is a slow-scoring game and slow-paced and low-scoring game. There we go. We got the words out. I do think Orlando, one, can kind of separate themselves, but also, just completely suppress Charlotte in the process, both defensively and just like, even if Charlotte is scoring, it should be low, slow pace. Like Charlotte, bottom 10 teams in terms of pace. Orlando, kind of middle of the pack, but would lean towards slow. And then you look at both teams in transition. Neither one of them are all that great. So even if this does speed up for a second, I don't think either team is going to say, oh yeah, let's keep doing this, because they don't have the best transition efficiency or field goal percentage. So I like the under, but I probably look at Charlotte's team total under more than anything else. In terms of player props here, nothing major jumping out to me. This has been obviously, like I mentioned, a good, I guess, team at the rim for Orlando, but I don't mind someone like LaMelo or Brandon Miller to be able to go out there and get some points, just due to the fact that this Orlando team is missing a couple of those guys that usually clog the paint. All right, moving on, we got Philadelphia taking on the Knicks. Philly just getting 1 point, so this is essentially a pick 'em right now. That total has moved a ton. It's at 212.5 now as I look at it. Graphics says 215.5, so keep an eye on that. Obviously, we're expected to see a low-scoring game, which via the line, but makes sense when New York is the slowest-paced team in the league. Philly is the fourth slowest. Neither team really looks all that tremendous yet, but one thing I will say is that this Knicks team, I do believe, is good offensively. Like, maybe I'm the only one that keeps saying it, but though they are, only, let's see what they're, 15th in terms of points per game so far this year, they're the number 3 team in terms of offensive efficiency. So it's important to note that points per game doesn't just say how many, that has so much relation to pace, and this is not a Knicks team that plays fast. So they're never going to be that top 5, scoring team in the league and whatnot if they're playing that fast. But they do obviously have some efficiency there, which is worth noting. Now, one thing I will say, and it worries me a little bit, like I like the over, especially if it's at 211.5, 212.5. I like the over because both these teams should be able to get easy buckets in a sense, especially down low. You have the Knicks who have guys that can get down there, whether it's Brunson or Towns, anything like that. And Philadelphia hasn't been all that great guarding the paint so far this year. Do they like to shoot down there? The Knicks, not necessarily, but that should be where the weakness is. But then on the Philadelphia side of things, I saw a stat yesterday on Twitter. I wish I remembered who said it. But the fact that Karl Anthony Towns, he has like a record, and I'm paraphrasing the number, but it's like right in that ballpark. He's literally allowing a 92% field goal percentage rate at the rim on him this season. It's like 31 of 37 shot. It's something absolute. Maybe I have those numbers wrong, but it's literally 91, 92%. That's crazy to me. So all of a sudden I start thinking, oh, by the way, Joel Embiid is looking to make his season debut here. Does he go off? Now, before we even get, I guess I already said I like the over. I like the Knicks just because I think that they are in a little bit better of a spot, even with the issues defensively. But player prop wise, I really don't mind Joel Embiid to get 25 points. Now, we know he should be on a minutes restriction. At least I would assume he is. This is him last year when he's played less than 30 minutes. He hit it in 5 of his 7 games, and obviously his line is normally higher. This is his first time into this one. So, if he plays more minutes, then great. If he plays less minutes, it might stink. But I still do think that Joel Embiid has a chance here to drop 25 rather quickly. The thing that might keep me off of it is what I just mentioned. that minutes and whatnot. Like, I'm not totally sold on it. I'd be lying to you guys if I said it's an absolute banger and whatnot. Joel Embiid can come out there, be rusty. He can come out there and be kind of moping around and not feeling it because a couple different things here. Obviously, he had the injury that no one believed. Then he had the altercation with a reporter. I think that that's the type of thing that might fire Joel Embiid up to kind of show out for Philadelphia here. But as he gets older and whatnot, like, we could see him just get lazy and move up and down the court and be kind of like a malcontent with it. So, and I know that's not like, that's not just like hearsay. We've seen Embiid act two different ways when faced with adversity. Sometimes he doesn't like it and he gets bored and just mopes. Sometimes he gets that fire in his eye. This could be against the Knicks, against Karl-Anthony Towns, who should eat, in my opinion, should be the fiery-eyed Embiid, but there still is a minutes restriction. But 24.5 points for a guy like him that can go out there and drop absolute, what did he score 70 at one game last year, right? Like, even with a minutes restriction, as long as he's feeling good and healthy, I could see him doing that. So Knicks over Embiid's points as well in terms of the three plays in that one. Milwaukee taking on Toronto. With both these teams, we have guys all over the injury report. No Dame tonight for Milwaukee. And again, I don't know. Am I crazy? Let me know in the comments. Am I crazy that this is the first rounder of the in-season tournament, the group play, and it's like all these studs for teams are out? Like, that's why I don't know if this is the most, like, especially early on in the tournament, the most we got to play type of thing for these players. Injuries are injuries, I get it. But anyways, Giannis also listed on the injury report. I think he's listed as probable, though. Great. Same with Gary Trent, and then Jackson also on the Milwaukee side of things. Toronto has quickly listed as questionable, and then obviously the same injuries that they've had for a while. Brown, Barnes, Olynyk, Temple's game time decision, Walters. Like, they have a lot of guys injured, but their season just hasn't been all that great anyways. Like, I'm not sure, based on how they're playing, if Scotty Barnes or, Kelly Olynyk, Bruce, like, these guys, would they make that big of a difference? Or does this Toronto team just kind of in shambles right now? I'm not exactly sure. What I will say is Toronto likes to shoot from the restricted area, and, well, they lead the league in terms of frequency, field goal attempts per game in the restricted area, but Milwaukee isn't all that soft down low. Restricted area, 65% field goal percentage against. That's not tremendous, but in the paint in terms of this season, allowing the third fewest points, last 3 games, fewest points in the entire league, and then at home this year, fewest points in the paint allowed. So I think Milwaukee can kind of stop what Toronto wants to do. Now, do I like the idea of 7.5 points? I feel like I've said that a lot today as we look at some of these favorites and whatnot, right? Like, we've liked all favorites so far, but 7.5, yes, it's a big number, but there's no justifiable reason in my mind that I want to get to Toronto unless you want to play the injury card and the Milwaukee has stunk this year card, because Milwaukee has stunk 3-7 against the spread. Toronto, who these two teams have very similar records, but against the spread, Toronto's 8-3, but that's because they're getting these big numbers and whatnot. Like, when they have a 6.5 or a 5-point spread, they've not covered that line. Boston, they were 5, they lost that one. Or excuse me, that was Milwaukee, right? Toronto, they were 5 against Philadelphia earlier, and then 6 against, they covered 6 against Clippers. So I have that backwards, but I still just don't necessarily think that this is a team that I would say keeps it competitive for 48 minutes. But we are talking about the Bucks on the other side of things. So if you're jumping down my throat being like, how are you going to say that the Bucks can do that? I totally understand. But the Bucks, they got that win against Utah. They stunk against New York. They competed with the Celtics. If they're healthy, or at least if Dame or Giannis plays, if they're both out, throw all this out the window. But if Giannis plays, there should be a level of them being able to go out there and at least control this game. 7.5 points still up, but control the game. And one thing I will say is, Toronto, though Milwaukee hasn't chosen to get to the hoop all that tremendously this year, Toronto really shouldn't have an answer for someone like Giannis down low, so he should probably be able to go out there and eat as well. But yeah, overall, I guess I just lean towards the Bucks because I just can't get to the Toronto side of things. In terms of the total, it's at 228. I don't mind the idea of an over. Am I thrilled with it? Not necessarily. Am I totally sold on it? Not necessarily, but I do think that would be the move. In terms of player props here, RJ Barrett, let's jump into the outlier screen. By the way, on the Guy Boston Sports site, this will be in the post as well in terms of getting this link. 7 days free. 21.5 is his points. You look what he's done against Milwaukee recently. Nothing obviously this year, but in his last 4 games, he's gone under in 2, over in 2. But I do like his spot here. Now, if we look at him on the season, he's been up and down to this line, only hitting in 40%. When you look at his position, Milwaukee should be decent at stopping this, and he is the player that leads the Raptors this season. You can see it on NBA.com. Restricted area attempts, 7.4 per game. Even from in the paint, he's in there. Scotty Barnes is out, so he leads the team, at least amongst healthy guys, in both of those categories that I think Milwaukee could be strong in tonight. So, yeah, RJ Barrett under 21.5 points could be a look for me as well. All right, Utah taking on Phoenix. Another injury to note, no Kevin Durant. Nurkic is also listed as a game-time decision. On the other side for Utah, Preston out. Keontae George listed as a game-time decision. I'll sound the psycho alert alarm here. That line at 3.5 just doesn't make total sense to me. So I'm reading that saying, yeah, it seems too simple to look at Phoenix minus the points, right? Now, I know they have the injuries, and I understand that, but to me, I sounded the psycho alert alarm. I get that this is a crazy move, but I think I'm going to lean towards Utah plus the points. I've seen a 4 out there as well, so if it's moving in that direction, might kind of want to wait as Nurkic's status gets developed and whatnot, because the fact that this is opening right where it is, or is where it is right now, tells me that this could be a close game, and maybe reason being is that this Phoenix defense isn't as great with some of the injuries that they have. Like the Kings just scored, was it like 125 on them, right? And Utah does like to run. They've won 2 of their last 3 games, one against Chicago, one against San Antonio, and then they did get smacked by Milwaukee, but nonetheless, they're now at home after 4 games on the road, and this is going to be only the second road game out of the last 5 or 6 games for Phoenix, so they're not used to playing on the road right now. That number just seems a little trappy to me, and it seems too simple to look at Phoenix right now. I'm probably overthinking it, but to me, yeah, I'm gonna lean towards what we're seeing here on the Utah side of things. Phoenix also has not been shooting much in the paint this year, and Utah's been very good at defending the rim, so they're going to need to rely on their 3 ball, but they don't have Kevin Durant for the jump shot perspective out there. You know what I mean? Like, that's another scorer from the perimeter that is not going to be there, so it's going to be Book and Beal, who, let's face it, they're not exactly the same. As good as they are, they're not Kevin Durant. So, yeah, I think that could be a weird little angle to get to Utah here. In terms of the total, I do believe that Utah's going to up the tempo. I don't think they keep this game close without it being a quick game, so over 228 is something that I'll look at as well. One player prop, and I don't know how sold I am on this, and you guys know I just like to keep it at least transparent with you guys. Keontae George here, over 2.5 3-pointers made. You can see we're getting decent value at plus 120 right now. He's hit it in 3 straight games, head-to-head against the Suns, though. 2 games now in which he hasn't hit it, but that's all last year. Don't really want to put too much weight into that. Phoenix against the point guard has allowed the 3rd most threes in the season so far, so yeah, I don't mind this spot for plus money, but I do, like, if this was a -1, even -135, -140 play for 1.5, I'd love it, you know what I mean? So that's why I'm like, I can kind of justify him to go for, 3+ but to me, still, I don't know if he's going to totally have the volume now. That being said, in his last 5 games here, he's been averaging 9.83 attempts. Like, to be a 30% shooter, yeah, I don't mind that. Last season from 3, he was 34. So far this season, he's a 30%. So if he just does his percent, he does hit 3 as long as he's taking 10 per game. So maybe we still do look at it for plus money. He just does his average and get plus 120. Maybe that is still a decent look. All right, Portland is hosting Minnesota here. No major injuries or new injuries to note here. Tybalt being the only one that's out for Portland. Everyone else looks like they are good to go. Portland 8.5-point dogs here at home. That totals at 219, so I guess we can expect a low-ish scoring game. A couple things I'll note here, and there's a reason why I think Minnesota does ultimately end up pulling away and whatnot, so I do lean Minnesota. The way these two teams score, it's actually like, it's funny. Minnesota loves to shoot the 3 from both, above the break and the corner. Portland stinks at defending the perimeter. Portland loves to, and they lead the league in terms of field goal attempts per game in the restricted area, so right at the rim. Minnesota is not all that great at stopping rim scoring or points in the paint so far this year. So, like I mentioned, it's kind of interesting. Like, there is a lane to probably get to Portland, but I just can't fully go down the lane. But overall, I like Minnesota minus the points. I think they're just a far better team, and quite honestly, after a Miami loss, probably ready to get back into winning basketball. Portland has lost 3 straight, but these two teams just played, what was it? Last week? Earlier, whatever, they just played recently, and that was a 127 to 102 game for Minnesota. Like, they clearly have the getaway and pull away type speed because of their shooting ability. One little spot, and this may be the crazy look. I'm looking at Portland's team total over as well, and over 102.5. They scored 102 last time, so they're clearly capable of getting to that number, right? But I like them to score 103 tonight, 103 and beyond, because of the ability of them liking to get to the hoop and in the paint and whatnot. In that other game that they played, they shot terribly from three. Now, they're not a very good three-point team. They shot 43% from the field and then 24% from three and still scored 102 points. And all I'm looking for now is one more, basket to fall or foul shot to hit or something to cash it. So yes, I'm sounding that psycho alert alarm. I know that it's kind of crazy, but again, they should be able to shoot 30+% from three. They're not that terrible from three, and they were that game. And then even if they shoot as poorly as they did from the field in that game, I still don't mind this spot. So I don't know. I know that's kind of crazy, but they love to shoot at the rim. That's Minnesota's defensive struggle this year. Give me Portland team total over 102.5. And it's weird because I do think Minnesota wins this one and wins it handily, but I don't know. Maybe am I a psycho? Let me know in the comments. One, if you made it this far in the video, go ahead and comment 25. And along with that comment, am I crazy to even be contemplating a Portland team total over against this Minnesota defense? Because I could be, but I don't know. It just shows that sometimes the Looney Tunes brain goes off and we find some angles in these games, because I do like that spot. All right, the game of the night. I think you look at these matchups, and this is by far the best one. Maybe if we had Philly firing on all cylinders and New York not in like a defensive, disarray, but either way, this Golden State-Dallas should be the best one that we see. Dallas 5-5 on the year. Golden State 8-2 there. 2-1 at home. They've played 7 road games, just 3 home games, but Dallas is 1-2 on the road here. So even though that's the case, they've barely played away games, right? In this spot, I do think that I like Dallas. Now, I know that could be a little bit crazy, but when you really look at these two teams, they could be fairly similar. I think Dallas should be able to score in the paint more given their talent, right? I think that they are somewhat the more efficient team. Now, we haven't seen Golden State at home as much, but given their home numbers, they're only ranked 17th in terms of home efficiency, so I get it. And by the way, as I go through this, I hope everyone realizes me saying this, the game of the night and whatnot, shows that I think that you can make an argument for both teams. I'm not someone here being like, how is Golden State favored? No, that's absolutely stupid. These two teams, this should be a competitive game, right? I'm on the Dallas side of things simply because I do think that they end up at the end of the day having more firepower with Doncic, Irving, and Thompson. And I think that the big shot and the big moment could matter here. And there's one little piece there. This is not a bad Dallas defense. In years past, we've seen Dallas sort of be they have the offensive talent and whatnot, but they're not good. They are a good defense. As good as Golden State, no. But if they are better offensively, I kind of want to say they are now. Keep in mind, I'm not a big points per game determines how good you are offensively, right? This is a Dallas team that is 15th in terms of points per game. Golden State is 2nd in terms of points per game, but Golden State plays faster. So I'm talking efficiency-wise, and I think that they are very good, right? If they can compete even offensively, I think they're the better offensive team, but if they can compete offensively and have a competitive defense, they now have 3 guys that can make a big shot at the end of the game and whatnot. And we kind of saw that confusion against Denver, right? It's who's going to take the shot? Kyrie had a million points and he missed the shot, but even still, they competed with that team. So I like Dallas for that reason. One player prop swap before we get into the total, but I like the under. I like both teams' defense, but I'm man enough to admit that these big games with 2 good defenses but 2 good offenses, I've been like an idiot in terms of being I think that the offense, the defense will prevail. And we've seen overs, Cavs, Warriors, or the other ones. We've had a bunch of them, but I still like the under, but I don't want to act like I'm all that confident in it because of that. In terms of player props, can we not take a peek at Klay Thompson under in threes? Oh, he's returning to Golden State and all. It's that dude has not been hitting threes this season. It's been tough for him, right? Last 5, look at this. Last 5, he's averaging 2 made per game, 1 of 7, 1 of 6. Is he going to go out there and probably, light up back at his old stadium and whatnot? Sure. If that's the reason, then fine. But I'm not gonna wager on the theoretical or the vibe thing versus what we've seen out of Klay. This is not Joel Embiid where I'm hoping that Joel Embiid has a fire under his ass. I genuinely think Joel Embiid would have a fire under his ass. This one, it's Klay Thompson, yeah, new stadium, you got all the feels and whatnot, but I think he might be pressed. I don't really see how he makes 4 threes but he probably can. He's a great shooter, but I'm just saying, in terms of the data and where we got to take this one, I really don't mind an under for his threes. But with my luck, me saying that he's going to hit like a record, and it's all going to be about how he's playing Golden State again, and he makes like 15 threes, something like that. But guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hope you guys did enjoy. As always, let me know what you're rolling with in the comments. Appreciate all of the support on this second channel here, and we'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.